Crack it, brother. It was missing from last week's episode.
I do apologize. I have had some comments made about that, and I must say I am solemnly very, very sorry to all my Monster fans out there that it wasn't cracked. I did actually end up consuming 3 Monster cans that day on top of like a double scoop of pre-workout. So that is the reason. I do apologize. I will never miss it ever again.
All right, I guess we can excuse you. So with that said, dear listeners, welcome to the BTP podcast, where we go beyond the program with everything bodybuilding, coaching, and lifestyle. My name is Pang, and I am joined by my gorgeous co-host, Timsy Huge Johnson. How you doing, man?
I like the intro. It's getting better every week.
Well, we got to one-up it every single time. We can't just let this fall off. We're 6 episodes in. This is wild.
How good, man. Yeah, in terms of how I'm doing well, man. It's been a rough week for me, that's for sure. I copped the man flu, as people would call it. So I was in bed for most of Tuesday and Wednesday, and then getting up and a bit more active later in the week. I'm much better now. Still got that lingering dry cough that just comes out every once in a while and affects my breath and my voice from time to time. But other than that, man, I am feeling very, very good and ready to kick off another fantastic podcast with you, my friend. How are you? How's your week?
Yeah, it's been a mixed bag, but it's been a good, productive week still. I had four high days to start the week, so that started really, really well. Training performance went up as a result. Coaching was good. And then towards the end of the week, just sort of got kicked up the arse with the prep fatigue and whatnot. That probably having a little bit of crash off from having those 4 high days, and then you go back into the dig on the low days. You just go, ooh, welcome back. Welcome back to the trenches, boys. But yeah, straight back to new low weight this morning. So the
Beautiful.
process is still working. But yeah, I'm 4 weeks out now. So
that's wild,
getting
bro.
the crunch time.
That's crazy. It's crazy to think we just finished season B and season C is literally about to start. It's crazy.
Well, that's the thing about having the mid-year season now. It's it's not a long gap in between.
It's fantastic for, I guess, spectators of the sport. It's consistent bodybuilding, which is awesome.
Exactly right. All right, Timsy, let's get into today's episode. So the entire basis of this episode is bodybuilding and prep with a regular job. So normal job, regular job, whichever one you want to call it. Obviously there is a surplus of online coaches, fitness coaches in the bodybuilding space now. It feels like, this is a controversial topic, but, you do one bodybuilding prep and you become a coach. That's the rule, isn't it?
That's definitely the rule.
That's the rule.
Before you continue, I was tempted to post a snippet about last week's video. It was one of the reels, but I'm like, oh, it's a bit of a dig and I don't really want to have that negativity on the channel.
Was it where I slated High Rocks?
No, it's where we slated, doing one show, getting some good photos and then becoming an online coach.
No, you should have posted that one. That was great content.
Take a step back,
Mate, that could have been a trending reel. That could have been the one that actually took our podcast off.
All right, I'll post it today then. Done.
Yeah, good. Yeah, there we go. Bit of peer pressure never hurt anyone. I'm not afraid of controversy. I don't know why you are. But yes, obviously it seems to be that a lot of the successful, a lot of bodybuilders in the space now are online coaches or work in the fitness space, but both of us at different stages have worked in regular sort of jobs. So I thought that would be a really great topic to talk about, of our experience working in regular jobs. Also myself now, the difference between now that I'm obviously an online coach and in-person PT, now working in the fitness space, how that's different, and just strategies around how to manage that if you're not working in the fitness space, because a lot of people do find it difficult with structuring their day or knowing exactly how much time available they do have. So we're going to kick it off with Timsy speaking about your experience being in the bodybuilding world and prepping with a regular job, mate. So take it away.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm obviously still a sparkie, very, very close to finishing that chapter of my life, which is very exciting. But I actually prepped, not the first time. The first time I was out of school doing my pre-apprenticeship, so that I didn't have a full-time job. But the second time I prepped, I was a full-blown sparkie working, 10-hour days, some 12-hour days. And for a fair portion of my my prep, I was actually doing night shift, which looking back was fantastic for the money, but in terms of like just overall feeling, it definitely took its toll. Um, there's actually a video on my phone. It's so with my job, we use obviously a lot of machinery and stuff like that. So when someone's in a piece of machinery, someone on the ground has to be known as the spotter. You know, looking out for dangers above and just watching the general area. And that was my role for one of the night shifts. And I remember that someone took a video of me sitting there. I had like 4 layers of pants on, like 6 jumpers and a beanie, and I was just sitting there, just like this, just like watching, and like just shivering my heart.
Middle of winter in
Middle of
Melbourne would
winter,
be,
middle of the
yeah.
night, no way to get warm, and yeah, it was definitely tough. But in terms of like the job and doing prep, it's definitely something that is manageable. It's definitely I found it personally, having that structure of work actually works really well for me in terms of getting in meal timing. You know, knowing exactly when my break is, when I'm going to eat, when I'm able to train, when I'm able to sleep, and that way I can have a much more structured routine in terms of, you know, I can set out my whole week, know exactly when I'm sleeping, when I'm training, all these things. So it definitely is, you know, it comes with its struggles in terms of the amount of workload you're doing at work. I mean, my job is a physical one, so that expenditure throughout the day definitely gets harder and harder as you progress throughout your prep.
Especially
Um,
for 10 to 12 hours. Like, that's a
yeah,
decent
man,
shift length.
there's some big shifts in there, and like ultimately that was my decision. Like I could have said no to night shift and done only like the 8-hour day shift, but you know, someone coming up in the world, I wanted money, and I wanted to,
Moolah,
I
moolah.
wanted to make the most of my time as a sparking, and you know, I was still an apprentice, so um, well, actually, the start of it was still apprenticeship, and finished basically my apprenticeship as I was finishing prep, which is kind of all a different story for another day. But I know a lot
It's a
going on.
lot going on at once.
So yeah, it's definitely manageable. And I think in terms of like, you know, structuring it out and layering it out, um, you know, everyone's job's different. You know, you got your 9 to 5 people, you got your people like me that are in the industry that start early and finish a bit earlier throughout the day. And I think that with a full-time job, it is definitely still achievable to do a prep. I think if anything, it's more achievable because you have, you know, you have a lot more structure around what you're doing in your day-to-day life. So I know for me, you know, training in the morning was never an option, just purely because of how early I had to get up for work, and then most of the time I was driving an hour to, you know, 45 minutes to an hour to get to site. So that was never an option in the morning, and then obviously working the shift, eating throughout the shift, and then, you know, training in the night, and then getting adequate sleep in the night was very, very important. So that was, you know, my role and my job was very structured in that sense. Didn't change. It was always the same set hours and set shifts.
So can I jump in for a second? When
Please.
you're saying you can't train in the morning because you're up so early, and then obviously you're training in the afternoon. When you say you're on night shift though, like what hours were you starting for night
Yeah,
shift?
so night shift was obviously a bit different. So we'd start in the afternoon, obviously work throughout. I can't remember the exact hours. I know my last job that I was doing night shift was 6 till 6, so 6 p.m.
Yep.
to 6 a.m.
And then would you still train after that, or would
And
you
then,
get up a
so
little
what
bit
I
early
would
in
do
that
is I'd
sense?
sleep, I'd go home and sleep, and then wake up after obviously sleeping, and then have a meal, and then go train.
Yep.
It was a bit different on those 12-hour shifts, purely because I was doing a 4-and-4 roster, so it was a bit different roster to what I was normally doing. So I worked
Mm.
4 days straight and then 4 days off. So the way we kind of worked around that is majority of the shifts where I was working, I wasn't training. So there might be like maybe 1 or 2 sessions I have to do in those 4 days where I'm working, but
Yep.
majority of the
Okay.
time it was focused on adequate sleep and getting sleep in.
Because you would be doing like a 3 on 1 off, 2 on 1 off sort of split at that
Yeah,
point
yeah,
as well,
essentially,
training
yeah,
wise.
yeah.
Yeah. So you would do your 3 days in a row on your days off. Yeah, that
Yeah,
makes
yeah,
sense.
essentially, and that way I can prioritize, like on my days off, I can prioritize getting in, you know, my training as best of my ability, because I'm not like the only thing I had to do that day was really train, other than like any
Yep.
other errands I had to run myself. But you know, the training sessions in those 4 days off were spectacular because I was well fueled. I trained when I wanted. It wasn't busy in the gym, and it was like the one thing I could focus on entirely throughout the entire day.
And I suppose one question that I would ask, and I'm sure a lot of people would be interested in, is the changeover, because I personally work with a lot of clients who do shift work as well.
Yeah.
And this is a strategy that we have to look at in terms of nutrition and sleep and training. Like, in terms of your total calories for a day, when you have that changeover period where it's kind of like, you clock over to midnight or you've just come off night shift, you're then going into a day off.
Yeah.
How do you manage your nutrition across that week? Speak about your experience with that.
Well, I'll tell you right now, it was the changeover day was always the hardest because you are going to sleep and then essentially trying to, get back into regular circadian rhythm. So in order to do that, you're sleeping throughout the day and then waking up and then trying to go to bed at a normal hour, which means that day you have technically less hours in your day because you're waking up halfway through the day and then trying to go to bed at a reasonable hour that night. So for me, especially eating, I think, when I was doing the 4 and 4, I was eating like 4,500 calories. Mind you,
On prep?
No, sorry, this 4 and 4
okay.
shift wasn't prep. Okay,
but that's fine.
In terms of if we're flipping back to when I was in prep, it was a lot easier because I wasn't eating as much food. But yeah, if we go back to then flipping over when I came off night shift, it was actually probably the better day in a sense when I was in prep, purely because I was able to eat a lot more food in a shorter period of time, and that made me very, very happy.
Okay, yeah, I see what you mean.
Yeah, so on the flip side, when I'm in the bulk, off season, coming out of that shift, you've got only a small window of opportunity to eat your food because you're trying to get back onto regular rhythm. It was a tough day to get that amount of food down in that little time. But as they say, you just get it done. You put it down. Unfortunately.
So you're still working on daily totals in a 24-hour block.
Yeah.
So steps, food, you just work off daily totals. You don't try
so
and
the
make
way I
it
did it
into
when I was on
weekly.
the actual night shift, in a sense, it was pretty much whenever I woke up to wherever I went to bed, that was my day. Like, essentially, that was my 24-hour period of time.
Yeah.
But then, obviously, when you're flipping over from coming out of that night shift, that 24-hour period now gets flipped on its head because, say, you go to bed at 6 o'clock in the morning, you wake up at 2 o'clock in the afternoon, you then have to get all your food in before getting to bed at a reasonable time that night to get yourself back into a normal daytime routine. So it was difficult in that sense. And then, like I said, on the flip side, in prep, it was a lot easier because I was getting a lot more food in one, shorter opportunity of time. And I was on cloud nine.
Isn't it?
It was like awesome. It was like, oh man, I gotta eat all these calories in 4 hours? Say less. I'll do it.
It's the best.
But same thing in prep when I was doing night shift, it wasn't like I was switching every single week. It was like I was doing a block for 6 weeks of night shifts and then I'd do a block of 6 weeks of day shift. So it was only that one time period where I was kind of flipping the switch. But at the same time, yeah, it was manageable. It did obviously get harder during winter. I mean, it's always harder working outside when it is winter and, especially, in Melbourne, it does get quite cold overnight. So there was definitely some challenges in that. But I mean, all in all, I absolutely love prepping with a full-time job just purely because of the structure and the routine and the rigidity of it.
Yeah, so we'll finish that one off with, if you were to narrow it down to, let's say 2 pros and 2 cons. Let's go with 2 pros, 2 cons for your specific situation.
Yeah. All right. So the pros would definitely be the structure in terms of, I start work at the same time every day. I finish work at the same time every day. Meal timing's always the same, which is something that I absolutely loved. What's another pro? Oh, another pro would kind of be like, actually, I'll switch to a con because it just came into my head. A con would be the fact of, my job is a physical job. It's a labourer's job, which means that a lot of the time that can affect how I train and how I feel going into a training session. Some days are easier, some days are harder. Like, we could be pulling this massive cable and it's just consistent overhead pulling of cable all day. And, by the end of the day,
that was a very interesting hand gesture, mate.
Well, I had to make it, so I wasn't going to do it down here.
Either you've been mixing cocktails for a while or
yeah, so that was definitely like one of the things, and funny enough, it was one of the things that actually pointed to my shoulder injury a few weeks back. Yeah, so another con would definitely be the fact of my food and what I was consuming and kind of the noise around that when I was, obviously on break. I mean, it was something that I've always copped in terms of, bringing my own food to work. I mean, a lot of the time now it is getting better in the industry. I see that a lot of people have brought prepped meals in, which is fantastic to see. But the job that I was specifically on in prep was a was actually Chadston Shopping Centre. So a lot of the
Oh,
time,
food court, baby.
boys were going straight after, straight at Smoko, was going straight to the food court and getting, anything they could get their hands on. Like I knew a guy that sat literally, diagonally across from the table from me. I don't think I ever saw him without a fast food meal for lunch.
Describe this person as well.
Well, I mean, I don't want to shame them, but
Demographic them.
they weren't exactly the healthiest of person. They were overweight, somewhat in the older age, and it was just like kind of their norm. And I would always get the marks. Oh, you're eating the same thing again today, chicken and rice. Like, don't you ever change it up? Don't you ever get sick of it? And as prep continued, the portions got smaller, and things like I was obviously a stickler. I brought my scales in to weigh my light sweet chili sauce, as you do. Yep. So, even them seeing me put my chicken and rice on a scale and then weighing out my sauce, the remarks I got from them was, crazy all the time. But at the same time, as much as it is it was kind of, fortitude in the back of my mind going, you know what, they don't understand it, and that's completely fine. I'm just going to cop it. There's no need to have that conversation, because a lot of the time when you do try to have that conversation, especially with people that are a bit older and a bit more set in their ways, they just don't see that as any part of being like correct. They think you're absolutely batshit crazy. And especially in the trade industry, there's a big stigma around it, unfortunately, which is, like I said, slowly fading out. There's a lot more people bringing preps lunches in to work now, but yeah, that's definitely another con of it. And then a pro would definitely, to tie it all off, would definitely be kind of on a similar note, people that actually want to understand the journey and kind of seeing the changes in me and my face, and the way you can kind of educate people at the same time. So a lot of the time, my face in the off season is quite round and bubbly when I hit prep, as you can see.
But you got such like cute cheeks.
As you can see, Julian Pang's a perfect example. He's got one chiseled ass jawline, and that's how you're basically in prep, and that's one of the signs. And for me, especially because I was quite lean quite early, my face dropped off pretty quickly. So people were asking, are you okay? Is everything right? And you kind of start that conversation. And I'm not going to call it a con, because as much as it was always a question, it's nice that they're asking. They care about you, because they simply just don't know. So the pro of it was the fact that they were asking the question, and then I was able to tell them my experience and what I'm doing, and then they were able to take something away from that. And 90% of the time when I had these conversations with people, they would understand it. Wouldn't like totally agree with it. Don't think they would ever do it themselves, but they'd understand what I was doing, and they would praise me for sticking to it and being so rigid in it.
And that's almost a conversation topic in itself. When you were saying the thing about the con, about the people set in their ways asking about nutrition, it often is about just lack of education around 100%. What you're trying to do. And it's like, you can't blame them for that, because if you're the first bodybuilder that they've interacted with, it's like an alien from space. Like, it's just one of those things. Like, I remember, interacting with people from certain other sports where I'm like, shit, you do that on the daily? Like, I wouldn't believe that some of these training regimes that, elite level cyclists would do, and the amount of cardio that these guys would do. And I'm like, that just seems so foreign to me, but that's because you're in a different sport. So I find it is a little bit of education in that sense. Did you find that there were certain people on the job site that started to get it after a while, or was it kind of like,
it was definitely
that's just
like
Timothy doing his thing?
It was definitely people more like closer to my age that were more like comprehensive of it and understood why I was doing it and the goal I was trying to achieve. A lot of the older blokes just simply didn't get it, didn't care for it, and
I made it. Six pack I have is a 6-pack of VB, mate.
I made it like a fact as well, especially because you're in prep, and I say this to anyone that is in prep. You're choosing to be in prep, so the way you conduct yourself and the way you uphold yourself, says more about you than anything else. So if you let prep affect the way you do your job, for instance, or the way you speak to people, that's where you kind of need to draw the line in the sand and go, hang on a minute, none of these people signed up to do a prep. You're the one doing the prep, so it shouldn't affect other people. And I made that very, very clear at the start of my prep in terms of work, that I wasn't going to let it affect my actual work and affect the people that I was around. And, a lot of the time, I had a really, really good A grade for that year. And he was on board with it. He was a bit of an older dude. He understood once I showed him photos of like, check-in photos and stuff like that. He was all on board, which was
Showed him his
super,
stripped ass glutes.
yeah, 100%. He was super, super supportive about it. And I said to him, I was like, look, these are the, because I'd done a prep before, but never to this magnitude. And I said to him, look, this is, some of the side effects. I might become a bit more grumpy. I simply, if these things start to happen, I want you to pull me up on it straight away. Like, I just tell me to get my head out of my ass and just pull me up on it, because, I don't know every change that's going to happen. I don't know the way I'm going to, the way I'm going to be day to day, just in terms of energy levels. And he was super, super chill about it. He was like, yep, all good. I understand 100%. And, we never had any issues, which is, thankful. But again, it goes back to like what we always say is about communication and just, letting the people around you know.
100%. 100%. Oh, well, I think that was really great insight, mate. I learned a couple of things there as well.
Thank you. Well, I suppose it took me a while to think of a few more cons and pros. I mean, it's probably the reason why I'm getting out of the industry, funny enough.
That's very true. And it would be the reason why I got out of the industry that I was in too. So, yes, you were obviously a sparky working a very physical labor job, long hours. My background is in hospitality, and for both of my preps, I was at the same workplace, working at a cafe. So not as physically laborious as yours, but definitely active.
Yeah, on your feet.
On your feet all day. So for context for anyone, it was usually a 5-day work week, sometimes 6, just depending on scheduling, but there was always at least one day off. And then the longest shift you would work was 6:30 to 3:30.
Yeah.
And then some days it might be like 8 till 3:30 or 6:30 to 2. It just depended on shifts. So I worked at a cafe. I was baristering. I was also waitering. So I was constantly on my feet, moving around. But I will echo exactly what you said. The number one positive for working a regular job like that is the structure.
100%.
You know exactly what time you are starting work. You know exactly what time you're finishing work. Like I said, sometimes there might be like an hour or two variance either side, but it was always get up in the morning, you had your break at the same time, finish work, go to the gym, go home.
Yeah.
That was it. You could just live that routine and you would be absolutely fine. So I did love that aspect of it. There were definitely some bits that I did not love about, not necessarily that job in particular, but just being in that environment. And it's definitely why I got out of the industry at the end of my last prep. So we'll go through that because I think that was something that really changed my perspective. Definitely the biggest con was working in a food-based environment. Like, mate, standing next to, so there would be, obviously you'd be waitering tables, so you're taking plates of food around. The smell of bacon was absolutely constant, because it was a breakfast cafe. So it was all day brekkie. So as soon as you get there at 6:30 in the morning, the smell of bacon's there. It'll be there until you leave. And then the coffee machine was at the counter, and there would be a person at the POS system who was entering in orders and taking payments and everything like that, which is often where I would get put a lot of the time as well, so I could manage parts of the front of house and parts of the floor.
Yep.
Standing right next to like almond croissants, filled donuts, blueberry muffins, and it was just constant. Like you'd just be there the whole time. And the end of the day, there's obviously some food left over that's in the counter, so it's kind of like either some things would go in the bin, which I know sounds very wasteful, but you can't sell them the next day,
Yep.
or they get taken home by the staff. So it was like, I'm taking stuff home for my parents because I was still living at home with my parents. And I'm just like, I've got this bag full of fucking sandwiches and sweets and treats. And I'm just like, my coach wouldn't know if I just had one of these in the car.
Oh, smelling
which I
too.
never did. I never did, but the temptation was always there. So that was quite hard. And even the things like, you walk through the kitchen, there would just be a bowl for staff of extra leftover chips that would just go in there. Like you can't give them to customers, but it's like there's a bowl of chips there. People would walk past and just have handfuls. And in off season, that was me too. I'd just be like, yep, handful of chips, handful of chips.
Wow.
Can't be doing that in prep. So you got to like walk past that bowl of chips. You just got to walk past, look at it, keep walking.
God, I've just thinking about a bowl of chips. Even in the off season, man, how bad that'd be to track. Like, You think
Oh no,
about
you
like,
can.
how frequently you just go past and just eat chips.
And this is one of the things that I preach to people now as a coach is the mindless snacking of people is
Yeah,
what
bro.
blows out a calorie deficit.
100%.
Like I'm lucky in the fact that in an off season, I need to push food up quite high. So I wouldn't track it. It'd just be like, yeah, I had a handful of chips. Big whoop-de-doo. It's on
Yeah,
one day. It's not going to matter. But in like a deficit setting, that could throw me out completely, especially
100%.
because, it's cooked in oil. That's just a communal bowl. So oil on oil on oil that's going in there. They were regular chips and they were waffle fries as well. So it's
Oh,
like there's coating on these. These sort of little things is what's going to add up to blow out your calorie deficit. So I definitely have experience with that as well. But yeah, I think that was the biggest con for myself was being in a food focused environment constantly. And it was just like the food noise was definitely elevated and, you're just constantly seeing like gorgeous smelling food all the
oh,
time. And I actually went back and did what we call a glory shift. They needed someone to do a coffee machine. Must have been in like June,
yeah.
so a few months ago.
Oh, this year.
I,
Okay, yeah.
yeah, like 2 months ago maybe. So I was on prep at this time, and I went back and did one shift, and it was absolutely fine. But I went, mate, I could not do this on the regular. Like by the time I got to like an hour before we had to finish, I'm like, oh yeah, I'm fucking starving.
Yeah.
Like it's the worst. But to circle back to another pro, this is part of having an active job, and this one was very particular to me. My step count was huge. So when my steps for prep, my prescribed steps got up to 16,000 at the time.
Wow. Yeah.
I'd smash that on a work day. I wouldn't have to go get any extra steps. I would have to like stop myself from doing steps to stay underneath that sometimes. So that was really, really good. It meant I didn't have to do any extra steps on the treadmill after my session. I didn't have to get up early to do any extra steps. Like I was just moving around and I might have to get another 1,000 maybe. That did mean that my rest days, however, I would have to do some makeup work. I would have to do like 2 massive walks. And I was like, shit, this is actually taking some effort now. I'm like, I might nearly go into work just so I can get my steps up.
How did you go with those rest day walks? Because like I know for me, especially similar fact that my step count was it's a running joke. It was 10,000, but it was more so a goal to always try and get below it because I never would because
Yep.
you walk so much. So on my rest days, I'd actually have to go for a walk, and I remember it was like routine based every single Sunday. I would get up in the morning and go for I've got like this huge field at the back of my house, go walking, see kangaroos like bright and early in the morning, and it was probably the best time of the week because I just could completely take everything away and just go for a walk and just kind of just be myself, and it was amazing. Absolutely loved it.
Yeah, so I would there was a Zap gym right near my house, like 2 minutes up the road.
Yeah.
So I would on my rest days or on my days off, sorry, that wouldn't necessarily be a rest day, but on my days off from work, I would go to the gym first thing in the morning and I would do an hour on the treadmill just fasted and I would just have my phone and watch some YouTube, Netflix, whatever, just get that smashed out because that would at least get me like 6,000 to 7,000 steps,
Yeah.
smashed out, and then I would probably do another like 45-minute deliberate walk in the afternoon, or like 20 minutes post session, 20 minutes pre session, like just try and split that up the rest of the day. But yeah, that it definitely helped me getting a whole like big chunk out of the day
Yeah.
early. Like
100%.
I find that a lot easier, and especially with cardio. Like people have asked me because I post that I do fasted cardio. They're like, "Is that essential?" And I'm like, "No, there's no literature evidence that you will burn more fat in terms of comparison to just doing it in a fed state. However, anecdotally, you can see like slight 1% differences, but also it's the fact that it's easier for me. It's
Yeah.
less of a mental battle for me to get to 11 o'clock in the middle of the day and go, oh, I've got to jump on the bike. Whereas I just get up, get it done, and then it's out of the way. It's done.
Yeah.
So it was the
100%.
same thing with the steps. I'm like, if I get 7,000 done in the morning, beautiful. It's like it's 8 a.m. and I've got 7,000 steps. And then it's like I've got the rest of the day to get the other 9. Wow, that took me too long. That took me way too long. Whoa.
On that, like kind of off topic, and then also a question for our viewers as well. But if you're going for a walk, like, outside, in the parklands or wherever, are you headphone gang or no headphone gang?
I am. It depends. If I'm by myself, I'm headphone gang, but it's not music. It's usually podcast or audiobook.
Yeah.
Um, I try and keep it pretty calm in that sense. However, like one of my deliberate walks at the moment is with our dog, who is still a young pup. He's about to turn 1,
Oh.
but it's one of those situations where you can't really have your headphones in because you got to be paying attention to what's going on around you because he's still quite reactive to other people, other dogs, cars, like stuff like that. Like he went through a really bad stage of where he's a red heeler, so he's a cattle dog, and he tries to herd cars, like cars will drive past and he tries to like nip at them. So I've got to be aware of like cars coming behind me and stuff like that. So it just depends. It's a bit context dependent. But if I'm by myself, it'll be headphones, but it'll be something calming. If it is music, it's very calm music. I'm not like hard style or heavy metal. What about you?
Yeah, I'm pretty much like 99% of the time no headphones.
Just raw dogging it.
Raw dogging it. And I think as well, especially, what I've noticed is like on Sundays where I do most of my check-ins, it's a pretty, slow day for me in terms of being active and getting up and moving. So actually going for a walk is a really good opportunity just to debrief from everything and just kind of just relax, center myself, think about the day, think about my week that's gone, think about, upcoming weeks, what's going to happen, what I'm going to be doing. I just found it like a really, really good kind of, mindfulness, walking essentially just to kind of clear my head and just, reset essentially.
Yeah,
So,
I agree.
yeah, normally no music, but again, it's dependent. Like, because I drive to work every single day, I listen to a lot of my podcasts on the way to work and on the way home. If I've missed a podcast and want to catch up, I'll potentially chuck it on for a walk. But majority of the time, I'm going for a walk and just trying to clear my head, essentially.
Yeah,
We
that's
do.
fair, mate.
Another side note: we do need to feature our 2 animals on the podcast at some point.
Yes. Well, you're more chance of getting Bowser up there without breaking your setup. I reckon if I try and pull Bandit up here, it'd be all over everything.
1 second for the viewers at home.
Yeah. For anyone who is on Spotify, you're not going to be able to see this. You're going to have to switch over to YouTube.
Spotify has the video.
Oh, Spotify has the video. Oh, sick. There we go.
Bowser, everyone. Say hello.
You look like you've just woken him up from a nap. He doesn't look happy to be on the pod at all.
The man naps 24 hours a day. That's all he does.
How is he not like a chunky boy?
Because I keep him active. He plays fetch.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very good. Very well
I've got a cat that thinks he's a dog. It's fantastic. So he's an absolute cutie. But we digress.
Yeah. So 2 pros being structure and high step count. Con being in a food focused environment. The other con that I would say, it does come down to food focus again, but the way that we would do break times was that the first person who got there would go first, but you would start your breaks at like 10:30.
Yeah.
Now that's fine, except that's the busiest time of the cafe usually. So that would then become 11 o'clock, 11:30.
Oh.
So you get pushed back. So even though the structure of the total day was excellent, meal structure was hard. So if I had that first shift, I would have my meal 1 because there was no way that I was pushing my meal 1 back to 10:30, possibly 11.
No,
I would have that meal 1 at like 5:30, 6 o'clock. And then it was like, okay, there might be 5.5 hours between that and the next one. And then you finish at 3:30, but you might get home at 4. So then there's another 5-hour gap. And it was like, oh man, you're just pushing that back and back and back and back. Yeah. Whereas now, like I'm obviously going to talk about some differences now. My meal timings are a lot more structured at the moment.
Yeah.
Because I can structure my day somewhat to be like, okay, I'm going to have my meal at this time. I'm going to push back my first meal to a certain time and make sure that I've got a little break block here so that I can have that first meal at 8:30, something reasonable, and then just structure it from there, which has been nice. The other big difference I notice now in terms of a con, being in the fitness industry, because there is pros and cons to it. I would say, the pros, you work for yourself. You can essentially structure your own day, but shit goes wrong sometimes, or shit gets blown out. And I think that's also me being quite a young coach and being young in terms of being a busy coach as well. is I will get better at this over time in terms of structuring my day. But sometimes it's like, okay, I will aim to be done my check-ins at this time. And it just doesn't happen. Maybe someone checked in a little bit later. Maybe this happened. Maybe you've got a busier day of check-ins. So the way that I structure my online check-ins is online clients are weekly, but in-person clients are fortnightly, because you can kind of do a check-in in the session itself.
Yeah.
So they don't have to do that every single week. But that does mean that you have some Mondays that are massively, massively busy, and then some that are just regular busy. Like it could be the difference between 5 or 6 check-ins on each week, but that can blow out your timing a lot. I've also put in place that check-ins have to be submitted by 10 a.m. on the day. Otherwise, it's a next day response, which everyone's pretty happy with. But some days you just get like, slept in, sorry, haven't had time to do it. Unavoidable circumstances for sure. But then that means Tuesday's packed. And you go, oh, okay, now I've got a bit to do. So that like a little bit of, yes, you do structure your own day, but there is a bit of flexibility in terms of busyness at the moment for myself. So that can be quite difficult, but I've definitely gotten better at managing that through prep, and I'm learning how to better manage that. So I feel like that's going to get better over time as well. But the big positive, you're just in it. You're in the industry. And this has been living the dream. Like, you know, we both consume bodybuilding content and we both look up to people in the industry. This is the dream lifestyle.
Yeah, man.
You get to coach people in terms of lifestyle. I've got some people now that are thinking about doing competitions further down the road, which is awesome. And I get to be able to train whenever I want. Like, as much as we like want to complain about, you know, tired and, you know, it's a hard industry to break into, it is the most fulfilling job and industry to be in at the moment, I would say. So that's like the big pro. That, like, it's hard to, there's so many pros that come underneath that banner, but it's just, you're living the dream life.
Literally, man. Literally. And it's like, you know, Sunday is my check-in day, and where I do all my check-ins, you know, because I haven't got too many clients yet. And that Sunday, like before we jumped on this podcast, obviously filmed all my check-ins and sent them all out to my clients. And like, I just sat there afterwards and I'm like, how good is this? How good is I get to, like, the fact that I get to wake up early on a Sunday, do check-ins for people, and like this will eventually, like, you know, in very, very short amount of time, like less than 60 days, be my full-time job. I'll be doing this day in, day out. I'll be, you know, doing check-ins, you know, obviously spacing them out a bit more evenly throughout the week because I'm not working as a sparkie. Be able to train when I want to, be able to eat when I want to, be able to just do everything on my own terms and like structure my day how I want to structure it. And it's just, bro, it's literally the dream life, exactly what I planned and, you know, have envisioned for myself. I'm so excited, bro.
And it's one of those things that we spoke about. I think we spoke about it in last episode, but there will be stages of the process where you've got to say yes to a lot of things, and there'll be stages where you can structure your day a little bit more
100%.
rigid for you.
Like,
so
I know.
Yeah, it's.
Oh, sorry.
Here you go. No, you go.
I know that, like, when I first started out, and especially, you know, going into a new gym and working as a PT, my hours are going to be chaotic. I'm not going to have so much of a, you know, a structured plan in terms of, you know, how many clients I have on a certain day of PTs. I'm literally just going to be saying yes to everyone. If I can fit you in a day, I'm going to fit you in. And that's the sacrifice that you have to make, especially starting out in this industry. You have to make that sacrifice. So, you know, apologies to Scotty. I'm sure he listens to some of these episodes. You know, during that time period.
Does he?
He actually does. He said he listens to the first one, so I don't know if he's listened to the next one, but he's over in the UK at the moment. So I know he has a pretty big drive to where he goes to work in terms of at the facility. So he does tend to listen to podcasts on his way to work and the way home. So we'll see. We'll see if he listens. But yeah, so you know, obviously my sleep in that time period is not going to be, you know, bang on. It's not going to be my same 8 hours that I'm used to, but that's the sacrifice I'm willing to make because, you know, essentially this is my career. This is my job. I have to make that sacrifice early on to, you know, to make a name for myself and to get clients under me and to, you know, to work with people.
100%, man. All right. Well, that's our stories and our experiences pretty much wrapped. Timsy, I wanted to throw a question to you, mate. You know, as you are still in the industry, what is your advice to regular 9-to-5 workers who are thinking about getting into bodybuilding and possibly thinking about getting into a contest prep? What advice would you give in terms of how do you structure everything? Yeah, take it away.
Yeah, 100%. So like, everyone's work day is completely different. Some people have a lot more structure to it, some people don't. But I think no matter what your work week is, it's going to be somewhat similar week to week. There might be some variances, but there's going to be some sort of structure that involves in how you work and the hours you work. And I think that once you figure out, the hours you work, you can then work out, okay, I need to eat a certain amount of meals a day. I need to have a certain amount of time between those meals. How can I fit that into this structure? And similar thing with your training. I have to train, 5 times a week, 4 times a week, whatever it may be. How do I fit my work schedule around my training? How do I train? If you're working a 9 to 5, if you're doing an office job, do you train in the morning before, peak hour traffic, before you have to get into work? Yes, that means you have to go to bed earlier, but it also means that you're getting into the gym nice and early. You get to go to work after you finish your session. Endorphins are flowing. You're already feeling, really good. Energy is probably a little bit higher. And then towards the back end of the day, when your energy starts to drop off, you can finish work, go home, and prioritize sleep. So, the biggest thing, I guess, when you're trying to, start a contest prep in terms of your work, you've got to have all your eggs in certain baskets to begin with. You have to make sure that, it's the right time to prep. In terms of, I know one of your questions was coming up about certain deadlines and stuff like that.
Yeah, spoilers, mate. Come on.
Well, I was going to tie it into it. So,
Okay, go.
no, yeah, it's one of those things. It has to be the right time to prep, and you have to be in a certain spot in terms of your career, and that allows you to facilitate a prep. Because at the end of the day, a prep is huge. It's not just something that you can kind of just do along the side while the rest of your life continues. It's something that takes over, especially a successful prep, one that you adhere to 100%. It takes over a very big chunk of your life. So I think the biggest thing is having some sort of structure and some sort of way that you're going to incorporate prep before you even start a prep into your daily structure, as it is your daily workflow. That's probably my biggest takeaway from that 100%.
Yeah. So you did tie that in very well. The question that I did have was if there's big projects or deadlines on at work, is it the right time to prep? And I think I'm a big advocate for exactly what you said, and I'd echo that of you need to make sure that it is the right time. So, this comes down to relationship turmoil. This comes down to what your work balance looks like. If there's any like potential travel coming up, if you've got big events on, like if your best mate's getting married in the middle of a prep and you want to be able to go enjoy that, is it worth pushing your season back maybe 6 months? I always say, yes, go enjoy that experience and don't have prep hanging over your head while you're standing next to your best friend and everyone else is having a great time and you're there with your meal prep. Like, to be fair, people have done that and people have made it through that. I've personally been through events like that as well. Birthdays. I didn't have to personally do it for my brother's wedding, but my partner did it for my brother's wedding, which was earlier in the year. But it's for some people, it's not the right choice to make. And sometimes you do need to make that weigh up that choice of, okay, do I just push this back 6 months? Because at the end of the day, bodybuilding's always going to be there.
Yeah.
Is this event always going to be there?
100%. And I know we've kind of gone a bit off topic there, but your life outside of bodybuilding has to be stable and correct before you start a bodybuilding prep. It has to be, like I said, you have to have your eggs all in the right baskets before you begin. Like if you're not financially stable, if you have a terrible relationship with the people around you, your work's always chaotic, There's so many factors that have to be right before you can start a prep. Because if you're going into a chaos environment when you start prep, at the start it's going to be hard. The more you diet down, the more you start to lose energy and focus. You're shorter with people, the harder it's going to get.
Yeah, everything does just get elevated, so you don't want to be in that position. That was the other thing I was going to mention was financial stability as well. Yeah. So if there's a potential, it ain't cheap. Mate, I've just finished booking all my flights and accommodation for my shows. Oh boy, it's pretty sad.
You're getting one of them for free.
I am getting one of them for free. I'm very thankful for that as well, by the way.
Although it's not completely free,
For anyone that doesn't know, I will be staying with Timsy for one of the Victorian, or one of the shows that is in Victoria. So thank you very much to Timsy, and I believe he will be either chaperoning me around or lending me a car as well, which
Well,
is
that time
legend
that
material.
time I believe I'm not going to be a sparkie, which is crazy to say. So I think I'll be, on my own clock, which is crazy to say. But
Legendary material.
Scotty did tell me that he wants photos of your glutes on every hour on the hour. So just heads up that'll be happening.
I just won't have pants on then.
Yeah, that works for me too.
That's terrible.
Um,
But yeah, to wrap that point up there, I think if there is, some big project on at work, a big deadline that you need to be able to meet, or for instance, like you're getting a promotion that might increase your workload over a certain amount of time, or even if you're maybe having a restructure in the business and you might be having a financial restructure, maybe that's something to also consider as to whether it is the right time to prep.
Yeah.
Obviously being in a self-employed state, there are busy times and there are not so busy times. So from a coaching perspective, I know a lot of bigger name coaches will structure their bodybuilding season around their quieter season for competitors as well. So obviously neither of us are in that position yet, but hopefully one day we get to that position where we can go, oh, I've had 10 athletes stepping on stage and maybe this isn't the best time for me to go on.
No.
But that would be a lovely thing as well. But it's the same sort of thing of just being able to structure, make your daily lifestyle, make prep fit around your daily lifestyle, not the other way around.
100%. And like you mentioned before, the stage is always there. Like, bodybuilding is such an incredible sport, and it's fantastic to prep and to actually get to stage. But
Mate, the sport's only growing; it's not going anywhere.
exactly, like the stage is always going to be there, especially with the 3 seasons now. There's plenty of shows in across the globe. There's no shortage of stages that you can get onto, and there's no. Let's be real. There's no perfect time to prep, but so long as you have every other basket in your life, kind of figured out and worked out to a certain degree, I think it's important that's figured out first before you enter into a competition prep.
Perfect. Mate, I think we've covered everything on that topic. Did you have anything else to round us out? I've got a couple of things, but did you have any questions come through during the week or anything you wanted to speak about?
No, just the people upset that I didn't crack the monster first things.
Yes. Well, that was the thing that I saved for the pod, the monster fact. So after our top 3 last week, I did have a little bit of a self-assessment and figure out that I haven't actually tried very many monsters outside of my main staples.
Oh my
so
God.
I figured out that I have had the whites, Lando, Blue Hawaiian, the ultraviolet, the main staples, the guava one.
Ultra Rosa?
So I have gone and purchased a few different ones this week to be able to try.
Nice.
So I've gone and I've got the Peachy Keen. I've got the is it Red Rosa?
It's Ultra Rosa.
Ultra Rosa. I went and got some. Maybe it's not that one. I went and got another red can, which
it could be like has it got like
it's got a bit of blue on it too.
Red can blue.
Maybe it is the Rosa. Anyway, I've gone and I've bought more flavors to be able to try.
Awesome.
Is my points there because I'm going to try and branch out. So I've got the peachy one, I've got a red one, and then I've got the strawberry dream one that I am all going to try. I know that I don't like the Fiesta, the mango one. I don't think I like that one. And I've had the Gold Rush one before, and I wasn't too hot.
It's so hard to get. I'm trying to put together.
I'm not hot on it though, so I'm not upset about that.
I'm trying to put together a real video for all my monsters in terms of like the list. And I'm literally just trying to find, like I'm going there, whenever I'm driving, I just go to any of the 7-Elevens or stores and just pop in to see if they have it there. It's literally the only one that I need.
Can you get it off Amazon?
You can, but like you have to buy like a 4-pack or whatever.
A 24-pack.
Yeah.
The green one, the Paradise one.
Yeah.
Dude, I'm going to get a 24-pack of those.
I have to retract my
Amazon.
statement. I used to put that one very, very low, and I think it was just because my frontal lobe hadn't developed.
Mate, slaps, like really, really slaps.
Yeah, I actually really enjoy it now, so I think it might be the next slab that I buy. Not for a while, though, because I've still got so many.
You lucky bugger. But yeah, stay tuned, Timsy, because there will be reaction videos coming to the new flavoured monsters.
I can't I've got to actually do the reaction video of the 3 that Jackson bought me. I still haven't done that.
Yes, there you go. The only other thing that I had to round us out was I did have a question come in, which was specific for you. Timsy, this is from one of my clients, Sandy, avid listener of the podcast and posts on her story every week. So we appreciate Sandy's support. But she did ask, Timsy, what is your top 3 seasonings? For anyone that doesn't remember or didn't listen to the episode where we spoke about meal prepping or we spoke about cooking, Timsy does not season his chicken with anything other than his salt for the day. Do you use black pepper at all, Timsy?
No.
So Timsy is plain chicken, plain rice with salt if possible.
My top 3, Himalayan salt, Himalayan salt, Himalayan salt. There you go, top 3. Mic drop.
That is horrendous, mate. Do you know any other? Do you know any other seasonings?
Yeah, obviously I know there's seasoning. Yeah, I have them in my pantry. I just don't use them.
What have you got in your pantry that you're not using?
I got paprika. I've got thyme. I've got garlic powder.
Use some freaking paprika and garlic powder, dude. For God's sake.
It's too much effort. Too much.
Give yourself an upgrade. Paprika, good. Smoked paprika, excellent.
I'm a smoked paprika when I put it in the barbie.
That's not how that works, mate.
Yeah, well,
that's not how that works.
I'll stick to the basics, but yeah, that's a funny question. Look, I don't like. It's not that I don't like seasoning. It's just that it's crazy. I'm so lazy, but I'm so locked in at the same time. Like it's wild.
You're a minimalistic man.
I actually had this conversation with Mads. Mads is a very, very good friend of mine. If you haven't seen her profile, go check her out. She's an absolute weapon. But I had this conversation with her earlier in the week and how that we are both lazy in terms of things that require fuck all effort to do. And then in terms of things that require a lot of effort, we're straight onto it. It's our main priority. What
was her example?
So she was sitting in the car on the phone to me, procrastinating going inside because she had to wash one of her containers. You know what I mean? It's just the simplest shit that we're lazy at, but it's just it doesn't. I know it doesn't take effort to put paprika on or put spices on my food, but I just choose not to. It's just easier to not to. It's just. I can't help it, all right? I can't help it. I'm a bit.
I'm still gonna cook you. I'm gonna season your chicken for you when I come and stay with you, and we're just gonna compare and see how much more you enjoy it.
All right, I tell you right now, it won't. It would be the same.
It's such a lie. Trust me. If I'm cooking for you, it's gonna be damn good. So,
I look forward.
All right. To actually round out the episode now, we have our running segment. So to any new listeners, our running segment to finish off every episode is a rogue get to know you question. Now, this is something that I will come up with in terms of something that is not usually asked, but it tells me a lot about you without telling me a lot about you. Now, Timsy, I do have a choice for you today. I've got 2 up my sleeve. We haven't done a bodybuilding related one yet. So I do have a bodybuilding related one, or I have a cartoon related one, as we have been speaking about cartoons and animes.
Why not hit me with both, mate? There's no shortage on this podcast.
Well, because we got a lot of episodes to do, man.
Yeah,
and I want to keep them up. We can do both if you want to, but I feel like we're wasting content.
Returns on brain functionality at the moment.
I do.
All right, hit me with the bodybuilding one. Let's do that.
Bodybuilding one? All right, man. What is your Mount Rushmore of bodybuilders all time?
That's a tough one.
So you got 4. Yeah. You got 4.
Yeah, I do know how many people are around Mount Rushmore.
Well, I heard a fun fact this week that apparently before they carved the 4 presidents into it, I can't remember the exact name of it, but it was the 6 peaks or something. And someone used it as a loophole so they could get a top 6 in a listing. Because someone said Mount Rushmore and they're like, oh, well, originally it was 6. So they used it as a loophole.
Well,
so there you go. There's a fun fact.
4.
Yeah.
Man, it's such a tough one. I'm going to have to say, obviously, Ronnie Coleman. I think just from, you can't fault the man. Let's be real. His sayings a lot of the time have gotten us into the gym, use them as motivation. I still can't.
The fact that he's a cripple can kind of deter you.
No, not, yeah, you look past that fact. It's I'm going to butcher the name, but Machiavelli Motivation. They put out like obviously the motivational
Yeah.
videos, and like I love stumbling across videos of him in those videos. Like it just gets you so fired up for the gym.
No, surely your favorite Ronnie Coleman video is where he's talking about his cycling. He's like, test, debo, just basic stuff.
There's some fantastic quotes from Ronnie, and I'm not going to do it because I'm going to butcher the way he sounds.
When he said he was 0.3% body fat.
Yeah, he's not always the smartest man either. But like, let's be real, you can't fold him on a bodybuilding stage. Like he's one of the greatest to ever do it. And I think as a fan, it was definitely someone that I had his poster up on my wall, like signed poster of him. So someone that definitely got me into it. I want to say Arnold, but I'm not, just purely because as much as he was like kind of the forefather of bringing bodybuilding to light, it's a very generic response, and I'm not gonna.
That's actually one of my more controversial views, is that Arnold was not, in the terms of the sport now, he's not that great of a bodybuilder.
Oh no, God no!
He's not conditioned enough.
At the time, he was the standard. Well, obviously,
he would not win a pro show these days.
No, the standards evolved, but he was someone that definitely brought bodybuilding to light in terms of the Hollywood, in terms of doing movies and just bringing more of a light onto bodybuilding. So obviously his place in that is fantastic. But
so are you putting him on there,
no,
or are you not?
No, I'm not. I just wanted to mention him. It's an honourable mention.
Honourable mention. Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So next one, I would say, I'm going to say another controversial one here. Kai Green.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. I thought I might get that reaction.
No, I like it. I'm with it.
So Kai Green was one of the first bodybuilders I ever actually, saw and found out about. And it was one of his stage videos, his posing routines, and just the way he posed on stage was like, it was definitely rogue. It was out there, but it was just something about it that you could not take your eyes off it. And I just think that, he was a phenomenal bodybuilder. I actually got his, when he was working with Riderwear, I got his shoes signed by him.
Oh, stop it.
Nah, literally. I got the box signed by him. I got a poster signed, and I also got the shoes with gold signage. I think they're still at my parents' house, I believe. I got to actually figure out where they are, because
there are certain bodybuilders that if they were in a different era would just clean sweep, and he's one of them. If Phil Heath was not around at the time, they were in different generations. Game over.
Yeah, it's he was just fantastic. And then my next one, of course, Dorian Yates. I just think his training, just his brutality towards it, just his mindset, man. Like, you can watch any one of his videos, and like I tell this to anyone: you watch one of his videos, and I tell you right now, if you're not motivated to get into a gym and train, just to train hard after watching one of his videos, there's something fucking wrong with it. Because there's no way you can watch one of his videos and go, I don't really feel like training today. Like, just like the whole black and white of it, just mate, I'm goosebumps just talking about it. I love it. I'm gonna go watch more of his videos after this. But Dorian Yates is fantastic, and I mean, it's one of those bodybuilders that you just, again, can't stop looking at. It's just, his physique is incredible. His mentality around the sport is insane. And then the final one.
This is the hard one. This is always the hardest part of the Mount Rushmore. I feel like you can rattle off three really well, and then the last one's hard.
But it's just like, it's because you got to pick. You have no more options after this.
Yeah, it's like, it could be anyone.
Damn, it's hard. Really, really hard. All right, I'm gonna go a safe option here. I'm gonna go Phil Heath. Or actually, no. All right, I'm scratching that. I'm going Jay Cutler.
All right.
I'm going Jay Cutler. Purely for the fact that he's still doing so much for the sport now outside of it. And you can kind of see the longevity of it. Like, yes, he obviously, wasn't as successful as Ronnie in terms of, placings and stuff like that. But he definitely did have a fantastic career, took out many, many titles, is such a phenomenal bodybuilder. And he's still doing so much more for the sport now. And I think he's a funny dude. You watch some of his videos now, he's collabing with, obviously younger creators and stuff like that. And, he's got such a good personality, and it's a pleasure to always watch his content. It's good. And I think as well, like, his physique, man, another one, you just can't take your eyes off it. It is just such a phenomenal physique to look at, and like as a sport of bodybuilding, you know, not so much the natural side, but obviously the enhanced, the IFBB side, the Olympia side, you know, watching him on stage, the way he presents himself, like the iconic quad stomp, man, like it doesn't get much better than that, bro. It does
Oh,
not get much better than that.
gets
Like
me going.
literally, I did like, I mean, not that I had anywhere near the same amount of size as him, but in my
I feel
Bali,
like everyone does it. Everyone does it at least once on
I actually
stage.
did the iconic quad stomp next to Hayden, and we both swiped each other's quads, and it was just like, you know, it's kind of
I feel like,
homage to
yeah,
it. But like, you know what I mean? It's just
it's
it's one of
iconic.
those things. It's like iconic quad stomp you do, and like we've all done it in the mirror. You know, it's I think it's a thing that will go down for generations to come. So there's the top four. That's a tough one. That was fucking
That's a good list. That's a good list.
All right,
that's a very good list.
All
right. Well, I'm going to piggyback off that. Jay Cutler is on mine.
Yeah.
Spoilers, there's going to be no Ronnie Coleman on this list. I actually prefer Jay's physique to Ronnie's. I think Ronnie was really good early on, and then it sort of got away from him. He was just so big that you couldn't not look at him, but it wasn't as aesthetically pleasing. Whereas Jay was was bubbly, and he had so much size, but he was also like majorly conditioned and just a little bit nicer shape, especially in the peak. Once he got to you remember when he had that comeback and he won like 2 in the 2010s?
Yes. Yep.
That was like, he started to have a little bit of that blowout gut at that point. And I was like, and he had the mohawk, which was a bit weird. I was like, this isn't my favorite Jay Cutler, but like late 90s, early thousands, Jay Cutler is up there. And like you say, longevity in the sport, like he is still training the exact same way that he used to train. And he still looks great, and he's doing stuff in terms of, you know, he's got his own nutrition company. He's putting out a lot of educational content, hosts of podcasts. Like, to be fair, like some of his stories and the way that he talks about stuff is very interesting, and he's very much in your vein. You know, I lived in a box. I didn't eat KFC because I didn't want the cravings. Eat plain chicken, plain rice, da 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 da.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jay Cutler is definitely iconic, and the quad stomp is just amazing. Like that visual is just unbelievable. Number 2, I can't believe you didn't say this.
No, don't. That's not fair. The reason I didn't,
to be fair, I will say to you, you went all open bodybuilders.
Yes. Technically, he was an open bodybuilder first. Just put it. I know you're going to say.
I'm going to use this as a technicality. C-bum. Like, how did you not put C-bum in there?
Well, because as much as I see him, like, I don't see him as a bodybuilder. And like when you said the question, it was like just open bodybuilders, like everything like that. So I didn't see.
Sorry, I meant overall bodybuilders, because I'm going to have one that's going to throw you right at the end too.
Yeah, don't get me wrong. Chris Bumstead's definitely one, and if not, he is my top. Like, I mean, he's everyone's top. I absolutely love the guy.
Yeah.
So,
and I know he gets a lot of attention. I feel like people think that it's just the generic answer, but we've grown up in that generation where he was the first bodybuilding YouTuber that I watched. Yeah. Like, I think I found one of his full day of eatings or one of his training days, and then I just started watching him, and he was the person that got me into competitive bodybuilding. You know, I was into fitness YouTube at that time, but he was the first person where I went, oh, this is like kind of cool. And the fact that he's such an ambassador for the sport, and he's the opposite end of the spectrum of some of these hardcore bodybuilders. He's very open about his emotions. He's very open about, you know, certain aspects of the sport that aren't always a positive. And he was very open with the fact that he wanted to get in, get out while he was still young, but still absolutely dominated. And the physique, like, I feel like if any of us could answer what's your dream physique, C-Bum would be up there.
Man, it's
unbelievable.
Yeah, and like you said, he does so much for the sport now that he's out of it. And it goes to show that, like, it is achievable to get into a sport, to obviously, you know, push anabolics high when he was obviously in the sport, and then get out of it and then taper off. Because at the end of the day, like, you know, he's got a family now. He's got 2 kids. He's I can't remember if he's had his second kid.
Yeah, I think it's here.
I think it's here. Yeah,
maybe.
Regardless, like, you know, he's done his time in the sport. You know, albeit it might have been, you know, not the healthiest time, but you know, now that he's out of it, he can.
You never know. Like, some of those guys don't have to push gear that high.
You never do know. But yeah, C-Bum's always going to be in top number 1. And, you know, funny enough,
you didn't mention him, so.
But yes, leave me alone. But like, funny enough, you say about his YouTube. At the moment, like, I can't watch his YouTube videos. They're very slow, and like, I love the man to death. Don't get me wrong. I love his Instagram content, and especially now
Yeah,
that he's on a more
it's very
high.
different now, isn't it? It's a lot more lifestyle motivation, which
Yeah,
is good. And I think that's him being an ambassador, not of the sport of bodybuilding, but of this like industry of fitness now, which is good. And
100%.
he's speaking about his training post like being a bodybuilder, which is great.
Yeah,
But yeah, it's very different to what it was back in the day.
yeah. Well, yeah. C-Bum will always be forever number one, but I didn't
You
understand the
didn't mention
question.
him.
I
You
didn't
didn't mention
understand
him.
him. Hey,
So
a bit of
So yeah, Sebum is my is on there, absolutely. Also on there is Dorian Yates. I think we share that. Like,
love
dude
for him.
was just a monster. To have I can't remember if it's his book or his movie titled Blood and Guts. Like, you have to be hardcore for that to happen, and that's so sick. So yeah, watching Dorian back in the day. Maybe not Dorian now. He's a bit spiritual for me. He's got a little bit off the rails. But yeah, even now, like he's still training super duper hard and he's still an advocate for his certain training principles that he follows. And I think he has, everyone speaks about Mike Mentz's style of training. I think Dorian probably explains it a little bit better of, yes, you're doing minimal volume, but you need to be able to hit a certain threshold of intensity to failure. I think a lot of people get the Mentz's style wrong and they just do one set and it's the worst set you've ever seen and they don't have that built training intensity. Like they might be 1 or 2 years into their training journey and they're like, yeah, I'm going to follow Mentz's thing. It's like, no, that's not how that works. You've got to like put in the time and the effort to expose yourself to a certain level of intensity and figure out how close to failure you can actually get. And then you do 1 or 2 sets to failure.
Yeah. If you ever think you're training hard, go watch some of his footage and tell me that you train harder than him, and we'll see what happens. Because
You don't.
you don't.
So yeah, Dorian. I'm going to give my honourable mention now. My honourable mention is to Terence Ruffin.
Yes,
Like the dude poses amazingly, has such an amazing aesthetic physique, and I think he's like one of those examples of if born in a different era would dominate. Unfortunately, he's just got that little bit of height disadvantage when compared to the other classic physique competitors, which just he doesn't on stage doesn't look like he has the size relative to his actual proportions. He's fucking huge.
Yeah.
And like his muscle insertions are amazing and the aesthetic shape is unbelievable. He's always been second or third in the field, which sucks. And I've got a bit of a soft spot for him. And I hope one day he gets an Olympia title, but he's just got cards stacked against him, which he can't have. As a short king myself, I feel your pain, brother. I feel your pain.
Just on that, you said top 4 bodybuilders. You've got 2 classic guys in there. Like,
no, he was my honourable mention. Wait,
no,
wait.
Oh.
My last one's going to throw you really badly now.
Let me guess. Is it a men's physique?
Yep.
Is it the reigning Mr. Olympia champion?
It's Ryan Terry.
I fucking knew it. I knew it. See, this is bullshit. You set me up to fail. This is fucking horseshit.
No. You didn't interpret the question properly. They're still bodybuilders. Do they not compete at a bodybuilding show?
Okay, yes.
Are you saying no? Are you saying that? No. Hear me out. No.
Technicality. I got top 6.
No. You don't have a top 6 anymore.
Yeah.
You don't have a top 6 anymore. You don't get that right. You are technically saying that anyone who has stepped on the stage in classic physique, men's fitness or men's physique is not a bodybuilder. That would mean that you're technically not a bodybuilder, mate.
Yeah, I'm not a bodybuilder.
So you've shot yourself in the foot and you've actually just called out a decent amount of our audience as well.
That is so not fair. Don't turn them against me.
Hey, for anyone out there who has not stepped on stage in a G-string or otherwise, you are technically not a bodybuilder, according to Timsy.
Funny. Continue.
So yes, my last one there is Ryan Terry, who is a men's physique competitor. However, like soft spot again, seeing him come from 14th, I think was one of his worst placings at the Olympia, and then able to win after making some changes and hold the title for 3 years in a row, I do believe. He's going for his 4th one this year.
Yeah.
I paid for the live stream the year that he won, so I watched him win it live. Felt like a really good moment. But the thing for me and why he's on my Mount Rushmore is I knew who he was before I knew what bodybuilding was.
Really?
Because he did like Gymshark modeling, he did swimwear modeling. And so I remember when I got into bodybuilding being like, I know who that guy is. That guy I've seen before. And he's always had that like sort of semi-mohawk look. Like he obviously C-Bum is the one who's transcended media, and a lot of like general goers will know who Chris Bumstead is. They'll know who Arnold is. Maybe some know who Ronnie and Jay are. A lot of people won't know Ryan Terry by name, but if you show them a photo, they'll be like, I know who that guy is.
Yeah, seen him before. 100%.
So my Mount Rushmore's got all bases covered. We have done our road get to know you questions with our Mount Rushmore of bodybuilders. Timsy's being Ronnie Coleman, Dorian Yates, Kai Green, and who was your last one? Cutler. Jay Cutler. And with Pangs being Jay Cutler, Chris Bumstead, Dorian Yates, and Ryan Terry to round us out. All right, Timsy, thank you very much for joining me today on what has been a lovely episode 6. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, mate, and hope you feel recovered and better for the week to come.
Hope you crush your next week of prep, man. 4 weeks to go. Let's go.
4 weeks to go. Stay tuned for the monster reviews on my story today.
Adios.